All right, welcome. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of October 2nd, 2023. In accordance with LB 898, please be advised that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chamber by the northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief period of silent meditation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The order of business of the Lincoln City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item should come forward after the clerk reads that item. The council shall require any member of the public desiring to address the council to identify themselves, the name of an organization or group, including an address, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating their name, address, organization or group, and whether you're speaking in favor of or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date, nor planned for a future agenda. Madam Clerk, would you please call our first item of business?
Our first item. Yeah. Hello?
My microphone's on.
They can't.
Can everyone hear me? There we go. Okay. Our first item of business today is a reminder, due to the Columbus and Indigenous People holiday, City Council will not meet on Monday, October 9th, 2023. First on our agenda then for our meeting for October 2nd of 2023 is our consent agenda, sections 1, 2, and 3.
Is there anyone here to speak on the consent agenda? Anyone here to speak on items 1, 2, or 3 on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none.
Okay, we can vote on section 2, items 2A through 2F were introduced by Show.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Washington, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That concludes our consent agenda today. We'll move on to section 4, our public hearing liquor resolutions. I'll call items 4A and 4B together. And then also, as a reminder, those that are coming to testify, the clerks are using the digital system here that will help aid your timing for your testimony. The lights will appear once your testimony starts on the monitors provided. Both dioceses or both sides are available for testimony. Green will indicate your start time for your testimony. Yellow will indicate a 1-minute reminder remaining, and then your red will indicate your stop time. Items 4A and 4B. Item 4A is application of La Nevera and Food Choruses, excuse me if my pronunciation was incorrect, LLC, doing business as La Nevera and Food, for a Class I liquor license located at 801 South 11th Street, and the manager application of Isis Aparico, located at 801 South 11th Street.
Very good. Is there anyone here to speak on item 4A and 4B? Welcome. Hi. Please feel free to grab a microphone, and then you can just state your name and address to start off with.
My name is Isis Aparicio. Address is 1825 Northwest 55th Street. Owner of La Neveria and Food Arcoiris LLC with the address of 801 South 11th Street.
Perfect. Will you tell us a little bit about the application?
Yeah, so I applied for a liquor license, just wanting to expand our current menu with a few cocktail drinks that our customers have been requesting, such as like micheladas and margaritas.
Oh, very good. Okay. Questions for our applicant? I have one. How long have you been open so far? Well,
The business has been open for about 7 years, but I took over about a year and a half ago.
Okay. Okay. So I thought you were new. So, okay. Very good. Any other questions at all? Okay. Seeing none. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for coming
thank
down.
you.
We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 4A or 4B? Okay, let's move on.
Item 4C is manager application of Devori W. Spangler for Walmart Inc., doing business as Walmart 3823, located at 3400 North 85th Street.
Anyone here to speak on item 4C? Okay, let's move on to 4D.
Item 4D is manager application of Thomas C. Laird for Laszlo Inc., doing business as Laszlo's Brewery and Grill Haymarket, located at 210 North 7th Street, Laszlo's Brewery and Grill South, located at 5900 Old Cheney Road, and Fireworks Restaurant, located at 5750 South 86th Drive.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 4D? Yes. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with your name and address.
Thomas C. Laird, 5755 South 155th Street.
Very good. And Thomas, can you tell us a little bit about your manager application?
Yes, just applying for the application to transfer over from our past manager to myself for Laszlo's Brewery and Grill.
All right, sounds good. Any questions for our applicant today? Okay, see none? Thank you
Perfect.
so much for coming down.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 4D? All right, let's move on to 4E.
Item 4E is application of Ate Restaurant LLC, doing business as Pita and Naan, for an addition of an outdoor area measuring approximately 20 feet by 13.5 feet at 1434 O Street.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 4E? Hello, welcome.
Omar Atai, 1434 O Street, and I'm the owner of Pita Naan.
All right, very good. Omar, could you tell us a little bit about your application for the addition of an outdoor area?
Yeah, we recently built an outdoor seating area, an outdoor cafe, and we're simply looking to expand our liquor license to include that area.
Very good.
We've been open since June of last year, so about a year and a half now.
Yes, your yellow curry is delicious.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is the building of the outdoor area a sign that your business is doing well?
It is, yeah.
All right.
We're happy. So it's very volatile. One day we have a line out the door, the next day it's a little quieter, but overall, we're happy. So can't control the volatility, unfortunately, but we're doing well. So thank you.
Good. Any questions for our applicant? Okay, see none. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming down. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 4E? All right, see none.
Mr. Chair, seeing no one else coming forward, I'd like to motion that we approve items 4A through 4E.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
You.
Duden? Carlson? I don't know. We'll say Duden. Second Duden. Please call the roll.
Carlson?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That concludes section 4 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 5, our public hearing resolutions. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for September 1st through September 15th of 2023.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 5A? Hi, welcome. Please come forward. If you just want to start with your name and address.
Of course. My name is Lauren Hargraves. I'm at 407 Fletcher Ave, Apartment 3, Lincoln, 68521.
All right. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I've provided to you a summary of an incident that occurred on August 15th of this year while I was traveling on the right-of-way here in Lincoln. A tree branch fell onto my car while I was driving. I incurred some relatively minor damage. No one was injured. No motor vehicle accidents other than the branch, thank goodness. And I'm requesting that the city pay for the quoted repair for associated damages, totaling $393. I've included, again, photos of those damages as well as the fallen limb and the city tree involved. The City of Lincoln ordinance states that the city abides by the Master Street Tree Plan, a publicly available document, which I will be referencing information from today. Key sections have been provided and highlighted for your review. The Master Street Tree Plan identifies the city as being responsible for implementation and enforcement of this plan, including adapting best management practices for maintenance, inspection, and proactive management of trees. Objectives of the plan include regularly managing and inspecting the community forest by utilizing current science and industry best practices. In order to minimize the associated risks of street trees, including property damage. The city standards include removal of dead and decaying branches for the health and structure of trees, as well as to provide safe right-of-way for motorists. Currently, the City of Lincoln does not require information on tree condition risks to be included in tree inventories whatsoever. Risk is defined as the potential for trees to cause personal injury or damage to personal property. It is reported that the city may not be safe from liability in the event of a tree failure if they do not record data related to tree risk during tree inventories, such as the city does, or rather does not do today. The U.S. Forestry Service further states that hazard trees with structural defects could cause property damage or injury. The city's master street tree plan outlines best practices to reduce risk of injury and property damage, which includes proactive management, which is directly against what the city currently does for tree management, which is a crisis management policy. And that proactive maintenance plan recommends visitation every 4 to 5 years for older trees. The same plan identifies a significant deficiency in the city's current plan, which states that it may take as long as 11 years for the same tree to be revisited, which is more than 2 times the recommended time frame for industry standards and best practices to provide a safe environment and reduce personal injury and property damage, such as what I incurred. Based upon the evidence that I've provided to you, I am requesting that the city remit payment for the total quoted repairs of $393 for my vehicle as a result of that fallen tree limb damage identified as under city ownership and maintenance. The information supports that the city failed in its requirements to ensure proactive management, minimize risk, and meeting street tree pruning standards and maintaining a safe environment for citizens as per the Lincoln's Master Street Tree Plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We
Yeah.
appreciate you coming down. So what'll happen now is I'll give counselors an opportunity to ask any questions, either of you or of city staff. And then once we get through that process, we'll see if there anyone else that wants to have their matters heard. And then when we get to a voting session, if a counselor decides to remove your claim from the list for a separate hearing, they may choose to do so at that point in time.
Perfect.
So that's kind of how the process will go, just to let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again for coming down. Counselors, any questions for our testifier today? Yes, Mr. Duden.
Yeah. Has your claim been denied by the city?
It has, yes, sir.
And would they say why?
The city attorney specified that because there were no pre-existing complaints about this particular tree, that it was not significant proof that the city failed to act or acted in neglect.
Any further questions, sir? Okay.
I do have a copy of that email if it would be helpful.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh, that's one question.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Hargraves, did you run over the branch, or did the branch fall onto your car as you were
So
driving under?
it fell on the front right hood area of my car, and then it bounced up and over the entire length of my car, all the way down the rear, so it incurred damage all the way from the front down to the back. It was when school got out, and it was like right in my blind spot, so it was, just saw like limbs going around, and luckily there was no one directly behind me, and it was a branch and not, someone on a bike or anything.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm glad it wasn't someone on a bike.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, very good. Well, thank you. We'll see if
Thank
there's
you.
questions for staff at this point.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Do we have any questions for staff? Yes? All right, very good. Don't know if we have questions. Thank you so much. Don't know if we have city attorney coming up, or
Or
if we have,
Director of Forestry?
yep,
or-
forestry. Come on up.
We are both here
Okay,
and available, so.
let's have you both come up.
Okay.
And we'll see where we land.
All right.
All right, who would like to start?
We got two mics.
Oh, sorry.
Councilwoman, yes, please.
All right, thank you. Hello.
Hi.
Would you mind first stating your name for the record so people know who you are?
Lori Gruber, City of Lincoln, Parks and Rec, Forestry, Community Operations, Forester, 3131 O Street, Suite 300.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gruber. Can you give us the history on this tree, if this tree has a history?
There is no history on this tree. I mean, we maintain all of our maintenance records in Beehive. There is nothing in Beehive, which I included in the claim memo, that the only thing for this address is that a private tree was removed back like a long time ago, before I was here.
Okay. And I don't know if you had a chance to review the information that Ms. Hargraves just gave us a copy of?
Not her today information.
Okay. I would give you a minute if somebody else has another question for.
I do.
Yes, Councilman, please.
Thanks, Tom. Isn't it true that the city of Lincoln is 2 to 3 years behind in doing these inspections on city streets?
So we are running about 2 years behind on getting work done that has been assigned to crews. Our inspections that are called in to the parks office, we have less than 100 of those pending right now.
And what has caused that?
2020 is where it all started. With COVID, we had 6 significant weather events during that year that put us way behind. We've been short 5 staff members since 2020 due to vacancies and retirements and people just not applying for the jobs. Our equipment has been failing us. It's an aging fleet. 2020 was a perfect storm for us. So but we have made significant progress. At one point in time, we had over 700 trees that needed to be removed. We are down to less than 300, So
would you say it's not unusual for an incident like this to even happen because of being behind in street tree maintenance?
This was a random branch failure. I cannot say that it was due to a lack of attention from on our part. I hope she bought a lottery ticket that day in all sincerity, because to be driving down a street and get hit by a falling limb is extremely rare.
True. And I don't think $393 is really worth arguing about when you have.
I just report
Yeah.
the condition of the tree. I mean, that's my role in the claim memo. I do not make a judgment.
Okay. But we are behind on street tree maintenance.
We
And that's
are,
a
yeah,
known
we are
fact.
running behind, yes.
And you're saying that it was because of COVID?
Well, we had reduced staff then. We had 6 significant weather events that year that were significant. I mean,
But that
big
does
deal.
not change these ordinances, does it?
Nope.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Other questions?
I do for city attorney.
Yes,
but,
sir.
yeah.
Yes, please.
Can you walk through the legal liability that the city is, the exposure here, I guess, and just to explain that?
Johansi Christie, City Attorney, 555 South 10th. Generally speaking, it goes, the main factor with this type of situation is notice. And so the city, if we do not have notice, then our recommendation has to be that the claim be denied, because the city cannot be held responsible if they don't have notice of when we're talking about trees. But generally speaking, when we're talking about negligence, which is kind of the umbrella we're under, if the city doesn't have notice, then we recommend that it be denied.
And that would be the same if it was a homeowner or the city or just any 2 parties, correct?
Correct.
Do we have any other questions before we go back to Councilman Duden? Okay. Councilman Weber?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. City Attorney Christie, can you explain the public policy rationale behind the the fact that the city needs notice to be liable in situations like this?
Well, the city cannot be held responsible for things that they do not know about. And I don't know how many city trees there are, but certainly there is a number, and she probably has a estimate, right? But I think it's fair to say, and we all agree, that there are lots of trees in the city. One of the ways I like to think of is that the city cannot be omnipresent, and the city can't proactively or can only be proactive so much. Especially when we're talking about trees, you have lots of other factors. So you have weather, then you have other could be animals, humans interacting with tree, right? There's lots of factors that could result if we're talking about branches or trees being damaged that the city really has no control over. And so, I mean, you know, I could probably expand a little bit, but I think you understand what I'm saying. And so it's really not feasible for the city to be held responsible if the city does not have notice.
Thank you. Yep.
Councilman?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say, excellent job in putting this together. I just wanted to make that comment. I mean, I will say that typically, you know, the process has been, you know, if there hasn't been past notice that we typically don't approve. So regardless of how the votes turn out, I just want to say, I mean, this helps from a policy perspective for future stuff also. So thank you for putting it together like that. That's really helpful.
Councilman, did you have something you
I
wanted to
would like
add?
to ask Ms. Gruber a couple questions if she would yield again. Yes.
Okay, let's go there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Gruber. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm a little confused about life, but that's a naturally recurring state. There was a conversation earlier about 2020, but I seem to remember that almost every time there's a large storm in Lincoln and trees fall down, we have to do something. How many crews do you currently have out doing forestry work?
So your forestry section today is comprised of 25 individuals. We typically have 7 crews, but we are running with 6 crews, and today 3 of those crews were stymied because equipment failure.
So would you characterize most of the work, those 25 people, 6-something crews, as being maintenance or preventative maintenance, or what does the day look like in your building?
Okay, so we have, as a general rule, we have 3 trim crews that we call them. We have trim 1, trim 2, trim 3. Trim 1, well, and they are doing the pruning of the trees. I have 2 topping crews, which topping is a very bad and unacceptable pruning practice. That's not what they're doing. They're removing the top of the tree. So they're step 1 of removal of the tree. And then the log loader crew sometimes works with those 2 topping crews to finish the removal of the tree, so the trunk of the tree, and then 1 stump removal crew that takes out all the stumps from the trees that we remove. Their assigned work, I have 1 full-time inspector, and then 2 of us act as inspectors as needed, where we go out and look at the trees that people have requested service on. We make a professional assessment of what that tree needs, if it does need to be removed, if it does need to be pruned, and then assign that work to the crew through Beehive. So there are 3 of us running tickets on a good day, 7 crews doing work, not all pruning. You know, I mean, 4 of the crews would not have had anything to do with this incident. But there are 3 trim crews that could have been involved had someone requested that tree.
2 years ago. So,
yes.
Where's the tree planting go into this? You're an arborist, you're in community forest. Are we spending most of our time just trying to catch up on maintenance?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That was a shorter answer than I was expecting, but
sometimes it doesn't take, sometimes it just doesn't require a long, yes, we are catching up.
I do bump into lots of residents in our community, and I have a coworker who's reported a tree several times, and she sees me 2 or 3 times a day. So, when are you going to get to that tree? And I smile and say, soon. Should I stop saying that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so when I ask our front desk that takes the brunt of all the phone calls that come in for forestry related requests, when they want a time frame, we cannot give a time frame. We just simply do not have that luxury right now because we are short staffed. We don't know what weather is doing, and sure enough, if we say we'll be there within the next 6 months, We will have a very unusual early snowfall that debilitates everything. And I mean, as part of our jobs, we also are first responders in a sense of when a tree fails and an arterial street is blocked, we have to
Stop what you're
drop,
doing.
and roll to that. You know, I mean, that is a primary focus if we have a blocked driveway. And Friday night we had 2 of those. You know, I mean, we had to stop what we were doing. So emergency work takes precedence over regularly scheduled maintenance. Our inventory does not say condition on any type of tree. And I would love for that, because that then that changes everything about how we work. If a tree has needs and we know it in the inventory, then that dictates what we do, and not callers calling in and saying, hey, I think my tree is ready for its annual prune. Tree should not need to be pruned every year. So that small shift would really help forestry be able to schedule and manage our workload. I mean, I have 25 guys trying to maintain 130,000 trees.
My next question. Say that number again.
25 people, 130,000 trees.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. I think that everyone has had a chance to comment, so let's go for round 2 of questions and comments. Councilman, you want to start us off, please?
Can you tell me the last time that the street trees on Fremont Street and the 5200 block were inspected?
I would say they have never, as a general rule, been inspected. Like, we don't walk Fremont Street and assess those trees. That's not the way we operate. That's not the way we've operated. I've been here 7 years. That's not our protocol. In the claim memo, we do say what has, and I can grab that real quick, because I did have to look it up and say what had been inspected in the last 5 years. Like, has there been any service maintenance done on that street in the last 5 years? I have it. Do you want me to grab that real quick?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Request for service.
Okay. So as of 9/19/2023, there have been no requests for service at 5201 Fremont, 5211 Fremont, or 5200 Fremont in the last 5 years. We did remove a hanger from a tree at 5200 Fremont in April of 2019. And we looked at a tree at 5221 Fremont in June of 2023 that didn't need, the assessment was it didn't need anything. I mean, I might have a question, because looking at these notes, and this is very well put together, Master Street Tree Plan 2019, it mentions Portland Urban Forestry. I mean, that is a good, I don't know that that is actually our plan. To my knowledge, we do not currently have a master street tree management plan. We've been trying to get funding to have that done, but I don't know for sure that that is actually ours.
Okay, very good. Hold on just one moment.
Thanks, Maggie.
Maggie Stuckey, Ross Parks and Rec. I think she's maybe referring to the student plan that UNL put together in 2019, which was an exercise that School of Natural Resources did to provide some baselines for us as we consider a master street tree plan. So I'm pretty sure, not having looked at it, sometimes it comes up when you look for Lincoln Master Street Tree Plan. Okay. That was a student-led effort. Mm-hmm.
Councilman Duden?
Yeah,
please
when
continue.
you're still up here,
Sure.
would you say that the city of Lincoln has fallen behind on street tree repair, attention to, and even, it sounds like even equipment-wise? we're deficient?
I absolutely would say that we have room to improve our capacity, our equipment, our team, our funding. We're behind, and every storm gets us more behind.
And do we ask for more money for those things, or?
We would love to ask for more money for those things. Yes. Yeah, and we're working with several private partners right now who have received funding through the Inflation Reduction Act to get some dollars into our department so that we can start to get caught up. So it's definitely not just on our radar, it's a priority for our department.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? Yes, Mr. Weber.
Thank you, Chair. Director, so if the Parks Department needs more funding to deal with these trees, would it be helpful for the City Council to allocate that in a future budget?
Absolutely. And I think what you'll see as we work on our budget for the upcoming biennium, an aggressive push to get us the resources we need, not just in forestry, across the Parks Department to meet the expectations that the community has for maintenance.
Well, I look forward to working with Councilman Duden to make sure that we can get you guys the resources you need to take care of this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, very good. Thank you both very much. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5A? Anyone else here for item 5A?
Would like to make a motion.
Hold on, we have someone coming up.
Oh, go ahead.
Please come on down. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hello again. Zachary Chapo, President of the Public Association of Government Employees, 200 South 21st Street, Suite 400. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, because this became more than just a discussion about this particular incident, I just wanted to say that Asplund, the tree maintenance company, pays a lot more than our forestry and our arborists get paid. And so that 5 vacancy thing that Lori mentioned is a contributing factor. Also, in support of her, I would say that if a private property owner owns a large forest, allows public access, they're not going to have the same, oh, well, I have so many trees, I can't maintain them. That kind of a defense. That just because the city has so many trees, if they're not notified that there's a problem, that expectation I don't think would extend to a private property owner. So I just wanted to say that.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5A? Okay, seeing none. Councilman Duden, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that, we're not talking about $39,000 here, we're talking about $393, that we go ahead and approve payment of this particular bill to repair this party's car.
Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. I think that we had another motion for Bunderman.
Do we do that now or do that at the voting session?
Oh, I apologize. Yep, we'll do that then. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to 5B.
Item 5B is establishing the property tax levy for the city's 23-24 fiscal year.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 5B? Director Heaton, welcome.
Good afternoon. Chairman Beckius and members of the council, for the record, my name is Lynn Heaton, Director of the City Finance Department, 555 South 10th Street. As you know, your agenda today includes this resolution for adoption of the final property tax levy to fund the council-adopted budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year. This is a ministerial action called out in the Lincoln City Charter, which provides that the City Council is to set a tax rate that matches the budget that was adopted. For the benefit of the folks in the chamber and the viewing audience, on August 1st, 2022, the council held a public hearing for the purpose of receiving input on the then proposed 2022-2024 biennial budget, which included a number of amendments considered and added to the budget by the council members. Then on August 14th, 2023, the council held a public hearing for the purpose of receiving input on the then proposed budget adjustments for the 2023-24 fiscal year. The FY 2023-24 budget, as amended earlier this year, provides for the 2023-24 levy rates included in this resolution before the council today. The adopted budget lowered the rate to 0.29533 cents per $100 of assessed value. After considering public input on August 22nd, 2022, the council passed the 2022-2024 City of Lincoln biennial budget by a majority vote, and which was subsequently amended by a majority vote on August 21st, 2023 for FY 23-24. The FY 23-24 budget went into effect at the start of our fiscal year on September 1st. Now today, pursuant to the Charter of the City of Lincoln and Nebraska Revised Statute Section 77-1633, the council is to set the levy rate to match the adopted FY 23-24 budget. With that, on behalf of the Finance Department's budget team, and I have Sherry Wolf-Durble here with me, I'd like to thank you all for your work on the 23-24 budget last year and again earlier this year.
Very good. Thank you, Director. Any questions for Director Heaton? Or Sherry? Yes, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Heaton. I appreciate your work and what you're doing, and we have to have a ministerial duty now, some version of that. But so when we vote, when do residents of our community actually see these numbers on their tax bill?
Well, so those would then be in December, they would receive the tax statements?
December is in like a couple months from now?
In a couple months, yes.
And those will be due in 24?
And then they'll pay, either if they're escrowed, they'll pay in through those typical processes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5B? Anyone else here to speak on item 5B? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk.
We can now vote on those items. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for September 1st through September 15th of 2023, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Washington. Discussion?
I would like to say something.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Hargraves, I want to thank you for coming down, and as Councilman Bowers said, you provided us a very good document that gives us some guidance for future policy conversations about our tree program. I did not second the motion by my colleague, Mr. Duden, and I did not do that because we see numbers of claims every year, not necessarily moving claims where the car is moving, but we have many claims where tree branches have fallen and caused some damage, and we've used the same system. And I think if we start making a different kind of decision, then what we'll be left with is having to go back and say yes to each of those other claims. And it's done well for us so far, and I agree with the legal opinion about we show no negligence, though I recognize that it is a hardship for people who are replacing or fixing, maintaining cars and other structures when a tree does fall. But thank you for taking the time to give us a thorough report.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other comments? Yes, Councilman.
I'm just going to have a motion for the Bunderman claim. The claimant can't be here today. She's unable to attend due to another commitment. She said that she'd be here for a future meeting. I think folks are okay with leaving it up to city law to schedule that for that council meeting. I would make that motion.
Make a motion to remove it from the denied list, right?
That's right.
Yes, I think if I may, if you could, thank you. If you could just have it be on pending, and then it could get back on the regular track, and we would communicate with the claimant as to when it would come back before council. I realize, I think she has requested a specific date, and we'll try to make that work if possible, although when I stand here right now, I don't know for sure if our next claim report will come on that day or not, but we will certainly communicate with her. And yeah, and if we do have it set, we'll certainly have it on that day.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, so I've tried to advise my colleague, and I think I did a poor job of it, asking him to remove it, but you're asking him to move it from denied to pending.
Just put it on, yes, I think if you put it on pending, then it'll come back in front of you through its regular course
That's
of
what I get
action.
for practicing
Yes.
law.
I would second that.
And to be clear, that is not an endorsement nor a disagreement of the person's claim, but just a request so that way she can be here to get her voice heard.
Very good. Any other comments? Okay, let's vote on that issue.
Okay, Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Anything else before we vote on 5A? Okay, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
No.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-1. Okay, that concludes section 5 of our agenda. Oh, excuse me, I apologize. I am sorry.
That's a big whoops.
Real big. Item 5B is establishing the property tax levy for the city's 2023-24 fiscal year, introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second?
Second, Carlson, discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
No.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-1. Okay. That concludes section 5 of our agenda. We shall move to section 6, ordinances, third reading and related resolutions. Item 6A, Street and Alley Vacation 23003, application of Venture Holdings LLC to vacate West Cleveland Avenue between Northwest 48th Street and Outlot B, Heartland Homes, Northwest 6th Edition, adjacent to Lot 37, Block 1 and Lots 1 and 2, and Lot 41, Block 5, Airport Heights Edition and Outlot B, Heartland Homes, Northwest 6th Edition, generally located at Northwest 48th Street and West Madison Avenue, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Weber, moved by Washington, second by Weber. Carlson has stepped out for a moment. Discussion on 6A? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 6B is street name change 23002, application of Venture Holdings LLC to change the name of West Madison Avenue to West Madison Place due to the proposed cul-de-sac on property generally located at Northwest 48th Street and West Madison Avenue. Introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Washington, seconded by Schob. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll on 6B.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 6C is change of zone 08057F, application of John Osery to amend the University Place PUD planned unit development to allow the sale of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises closer than 100 feet to a residential zoning district on property generally located at 2737 North 49th Street. Introduced by Carlson.
So moved?
Second.
Seconded Schob. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 6D is amending the pay schedule for a certain employee group by adjusting the schedules of annual, monthly, biweekly, and hourly pay range equivalents for employees of the City of Lincoln whose classifications are assigned to pay ranges prefixed by N, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob. Discussion?
I'd like to see where this is at, what department, or,
I'm sorry, Tom, what were
we were talking about the raising the pay raises for employees of the City of Lincoln whose classifications are assigned by prefix N. Where are those positions at? Do you know?
We had heard that, we had a hearing on that last week.
Okay.
Let me pull.
Yep.
We do have Director McIntyre here.
Yeah, that would help. Refresh my memory.
This is the 3% pay, I'm sorry, Barb McIntyre, 575 South 10th Street, Human Resources Director. And these positions are through, this is the Page Union, and these positions are throughout the City of Lincoln in just about every department. The departments with most of those are LTU, Parks, and Finance, a lot of different ones. The mayor's office, they're everywhere. We have Page employees literally in every department.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Councilman Shob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. McIntyre, so I think there's a little confusion. D and E are going together. D is a precursor to E?
Yeah, so the 3% pay plan goes with the contract. So maybe should have had them in a flip-flopped order, but if you vote to approve the last and best terms of the contract, then that pay plan, the 3% increase goes with that.
Thank you. Ms.
Okay.
McIntyre. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair.
Yeah.
Councilwoman?
Order does kind of matter in this, but let me offer a motion to substitute the bill. The bill as introduced to us last week had the date of September 17th, I believe, on it, and it should have said August 17th. It should say August 18th.
September
You're offering a
18th.
motion to
Did I
amend.
just
You reversed it.
flop that?
Yeah.
18 instead of 17.
I'll second your motion to amend.
To substitute. We're just correcting a date
Substitute.
on the ordinance.
Okay, so a motion by Washington, seconded by Shob. Discussion on this particular issue on the substitute or the motion to amend?
Did City Attorney Christie have anything to add with that process?
No, I just, I think Councilperson Washington corrected. She had the dates flipped, and that's why I stood up.
Just wanted to make sure.
She caught herself. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Christie, we appreciate it. Any other questions? Okay, let's go ahead and call the roll on the motion to amend number 1.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Okay, to the main motion?
I got a question. So just to be super clear, this is not the contract issue that we were talking about. This is if the contract does go through, then this does approve the 3% raise, is what I'm hearing you say, retroactively.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Councilman Weber, did you have a question?
Yeah, can we have City Attorney Christie come up here quick?
Yes.
So for the count, or at least for myself, so how does voting for or against 6D then relate to 6E on the agenda?
So while these are separate items, they are related, and I think it makes sense to treat them as the same item. In the sense that 6E is the contract, and then 6D is the ordinance that if 6E, the contract is approved, then 6D spells out an ordinance, the 3% raise that is in the contract on the next item, 6E.
Thank you for that clarification.
We have a question from Councilwoman Washington.
Yes, I was going to ask for some clarification when we got to these items. I was going to ask it on 6E, but I think now is the right time. I heard my colleague, Councilman Bowers, mention the purpose of 6D and the salary, the 3% raise for each of the jobs under N, Class N. And, but I think he had said back pay, and I had a question about back pay because I did not see back pay in either the proposed contract that was brought before us or in this item at 6D. And I know that there was some concern that back pay was not initially provided in the negotiations. But last week, Director McIntyre said that back pay would be provided for union members from August 17th or 18th until the contract is signed, if the proposed contract is accepted. Is that true?
Yes, correct. And it probably does make sense to call both these items at the same time. But we were just talking about in the motion to amend where it was August 17th of 2023, that would, to correct it from August 18th to August 17th of 2023, the language in the ordinance says that the pay schedules are effective August 17th, 2023 with the motion to amend. So
Okay.
That's the back date, and that is the date that we're talking about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions for Mr. Christie?
So this goes through only if the contract goes through also?
Correct.
Okay.
All good?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, very good. Thank you. We appreciate it. 6D.
Am I okay to call a vote on 6D?
Yep, I think you have a first and a second, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Duden?
No.
Washington?
Yes.
Weber?
No.
Bowers?
No.
Carlson?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried, 4-3. Item 6E, approving the labor contract between the City of Lincoln and Public Association of Government Employees, Page, for a term effective August 17th, 23 through August 31st, 24. Introduced by Carlson.
So moved?
Second.
Second, Schob, discussion. Councilman Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Director McIntyre and the Human Resources Department. I know for all of their work throughout this process, I know it has not been easy for them. I also want to thank President Chapo and the members of his organization for showing up for the city. I know it has not been easy for them either. I don't intend to support this agenda item as I did not support the previous agenda item because at this time I am not ready to vote for approval without an agreement from the Page organization. This is largely due to the lack of compensation data as it relates to the 29 positions that Page had brought forward through the negotiation process. I know that this would be very work intensive for the Human Resource Department with the timing issues at play, but I personally would need to know where these positions are at in regards to being above or below market before voting to approve this agreement. With that being said, I am still hopeful that a consensus can be reached between the two parties, and that is why I will be voting against this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Others? Councilwoman Washington.
I now have a question for staff, if I could do so. I realize slightly.
Do you have a specific staff person?
Yes, I would like to speak
Sure.
with Director McIntyre and I think Attorney Munn.
Very sweet.
And pardon me if there really is a question for attorney. Because Councilman Weber has brought up the desire
to hold back until there was a agreement on the 29 positions. And when I was reading through that contract this weekend, I saw that there were 78 lines or 78 job titles involved in this. And I understand that Paige brought forward 29 they'd like to have you do a market analysis on. And last week at the hearing, I thought I heard that there was an agreement from at least the city side to do an analysis on all 80 or all 78 of those lines. Could you, is that true first? Is that true?
Yeah, so our current pay plan for Paige, there are 70, I always roughly say 80, but it's 77 or 78 positions. And most pay plans have a set percentage spread from the minimum to the max, and then a set percentage between each pay line. When you look at Paige, you're not going to see that, because when we went to CIR in 2011, what they did is...
Acronym, please. Could you break it down?
The Commission on Industrial Relations, sorry. They set those pay lines. So some of our pay lines have maybe 0.5% between them. That goes all the way up to 3% in between some others. We want to create that same consistency we have in our others. So we committed at the table to looking at all 80 positions, doing a market analysis, and working with Paige to create a new pay plan. Because there's challenges with this pay plan, and we want to fix it, and we want to fix it right.
If we turn down this contract today, what are the legal pathways we have for moving forward? Because there is an out-of-date contract. So is someone else going to be telling us we need to have a legal contract in so many days? Where are we?
Sure. Marna Munn, Assistant City Attorney, 555 South 10th Street. Yes, so we're governed in the state by the Commission on Industrial Relations. We shorthanded as CIR, and they were created to implement the Industrial Relations Act, which is a state statute that governs this process, right? And so essentially, as you've noted, we have an expired contract. We can continue to carry forward on the terms of that contract as long as we're in active bargaining. And or if we have reached impasse and are no longer in active bargaining, we can, our choice is to implement the last and best offer that was given, and that's what's before you today. We sent the last and best offer. They voted on it. Paige voted it down. So on the management side of things, under the CIR, our next step is to move to implementation so that we are under the terms and conditions of an agreement in some form or fashion. We really do not have an option for status quo. If we are not in active bargaining, we can't just continue under the old terms of an expired contract. We can only do so under certain conditions. And so to carry forward to do that could be seen as regressive bargaining, or it could be considered bargaining in bad faith. And so we really have to be active in one way or the other. We can either bring implementation, or if you either vote against it or you opt not to vote and it doesn't go forward, either would amount to about the same situation where we would need to go back to the bargaining table.
Could you define active bargaining?
Sure, that we are moving forward, exchanging in good faith. Both sides are willing to compromise, that we have not reached impasse. And I probably gave too many definitions there.
And if the city goes into active bargaining, what again is the risk of being charged with acting in bad faith?
Because the whole system and the act is designed to move it forward so that we're reaching agreement and that you're always coming to the table in good faith. And if we aren't bargaining, if we just sit in status quo, then we'd run the risk of a charge of bad faith being filed with the Commission on Industrial Relations at any point if we're not able to continue in good faith.
And one more question. Thank you. And is bad faith, is the process of doing the market analysis considered bad faith? Or is that active negotiation?
In classic attorney fashion, it probably depends. Most of these are fact-based analysis, require just the totality of the circumstances. In this case, just to try to keep this as a tight an answer as I can, I believe you heard testimony last week from Director McIntyre that to pick out even a few of these, lines, pay lines. It takes going to all of the cities in our array, trying to find a comparable job description, doing the analysis on that, and then doing the analysis on the financial piece. And please jump in if I'm saying that incorrectly. And so that's just going to take time. So part of the commitment at the table that we come back this next February is when we would start bargaining again under the 1-year agreement, would be that that HR department is going to take the time between now and then to try to look at actually all 78 lines. But even if they didn't and they worked on the 29 lines brought by the union, that's just going to take some time. So we probably can't sit down with anything to discuss for some time, and so that could be considered inactive.
I guess
the
that's what
charge
I'm
is there,
asking.
and then we'd have to go and defend that.
I guess that's what I'm asking. If it takes, let's say you only did the 29 lines, but it still took you a couple of months to get the data together, is doing market research for a couple of months an act of bad faith? And if you were to start all 80 of them, is that an act of bad faith just because it takes 4 or 5 months?
I would like to be in a position to say that it is not, and I think that would be our position, but we'd still be subject to if the other side felt differently, they can, under the Commission of Industrial Relations, charge us with a prohibited labor practice and bargaining in bad faith.
Yeah. Thank you. I think I'm done with my questions.
Very good. Others? Councilman?
Thank you, Chair Beckius. I have a clarifying question in response to that answer. Engaging in a time-intensive process, which this no doubt would be, is not, though, definitively negotiating in bad faith if we took that action today.
I think that would be our position.
Thank you.
If we go back to the bargaining table.
I appreciate that.
Other questions? Councilman, yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ladies, thanks for coming forward. I appreciate your effort. I appreciate everyone being engaged in this, but I do have some concerns. If this passes and we start, it'll be a 1-year contract and we'll start the process again. We heard testimony last week that the process didn't start in February. It started later in the year and it was kind of an abbreviated negotiation. Is that true?
Yeah, I went back and double checked our dates, and the email we got to exchange dates was on May 30th from Gary Young, which is the chief negotiator for the union. So that is the first contact we had to exchange dates this year. And that led to us trying to condense negotiations down into the month of June due to some scheduling conflicts.
And I would just speak on the law piece of it. There's no particular prescribed way that the negotiation must look under the CIR and the Industrial Relations Act. It can look, it's a combination of factors, and so you could meet 4 times over 4 months, or you could meet 4 times in 4 days, depending on what each side was able to do, and that could be a satisfactory negotiation as long as the subjects being discussed and moved forward are treated, you know, as if everyone's there to negotiate on them. So I don't want to leave a misimpression that it has to look any particular way, as long as they think that it's not being done in bad faith, and that you're giving at least some time to the proposals in front of you.
I appreciate that explanation because I did feel that the compressed timeline and the failure to meet earlier was a little bit of a bad faith effort on both parts. We did hear some testimony that July was taken out of the agenda because of other reasons. I struggle with this quite a bit. This is really, as someone who has to worry about the fiduciary responsibilities of the city, I have one hat I have to put on. Someone who cares about people, I have another hat to put on. And someone who listens to residents of our community that tell us that we're taxing them at a rate they can't afford, which is our only revenue stream to pay additional wages. I have not slept several nights this week. This is not as much fun as you think it would be. What guarantees do we have if we were to deny this that it could get fixed quickly or before we start negotiations again? Is there any guarantee that would happen? If we voted this contract down, you would get one done before the next negotiation cycle.
I don't think we can, I would say legally, I don't think we can make that guarantee. We're not the only entity engaged in the process.
I understand.
And
I understand. Thank you. That was probably not the best question to ask. Mr. Chair, I'm going to say thank you very much and stop talking.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I just want to, we do have staff in front of us, and I appreciate that. We are in a voting session, and at this point in time, I think that our questions probably need to be reflective of a procedure and a process here. I just don't want to go back and
Republic hear this thing.
have a public hearing again on this item that we talked about last week. So, Councilman.
I do have a question. On the study of compensation data, I know it's a big job with all 80 lines and I know you have not committed to a time frame, but is there a possibility that you could commit to a time frame that this for sure would be accomplished, or that this would be done by the time negotiations are started again?
Yeah, we have committed our comp resources that we will have the entire study done before we sit back down with them in February. So we are going to walk in February prepared to talk about all of it, all 78 positions that I round to 80. All that comp work is going to be done. And in addition, we will have what we would consider a new draft of how the pay plan should be set up. Which should expedite our conversations. We won't agree because that's what negotiations are about, but it gives us a place and the data to start with and be in a good position.
Can I ask two process questions?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, Councilwoman?
If we vote this down and you go back into negotiations, will you be negotiating a 1-year contract, or will you be continuing to negotiate the contract that was, the dates that were crossed out? I think it was a 3-year on the cover sheet that we saw.
Our hope is always to get a multi-year contract. It helps us from a budgeting perspective, right? When we can get multi-year contracts, then we know what our financial obligations are. We can plan for them in the budgeting cycle. Generally, with this union, we have gotten 2-year agreements. Okay. So at a minimum, we'd be looking for a 2-year, but we like those 3 years. The further out we can go, just from a process standpoint, the easier it is for us to handle that.
But a multi-year is what you're...
Yeah.
And, all right.
And I think that we would be continuing a negotiation that had already been in process. And so, we would try to move forward from where we were at last point, but there is some opportunity to look at some of the other options, particularly if we change the term and bring forth some of the proposals that were originally brought forward that maybe got moved to the side. But we have to be a little bit careful. I don't believe it's carte blanche to start over at the very beginning, because we'd still be in the same negotiation process. So we have to be a little careful of some regressive bargaining. But if we agree and we change, if we look at a 3-year versus a 1-year, we may have some movement opportunities.
Thank you.
Other questions for staff? Okay, very good. Thank you both. We appreciate it. Other comments before we vote on this item? Would anyone else like to make any additional comments on 6E? Councilman, please.
So I want to be clear that this does not happen often. Serving the public is, as we all know, hard and underappreciated, and especially working as a member of the Page workers. These are our technical workers, our clerical workers, and city street maintenance workers. And it's an underappreciated hard job in interacting with the public and in moving forward with their job duties. And they've taken care of us. And I think that we should all agree that we should take care of those that have taken care of us, especially over the past couple of years. And that is why that this rare event of not coming to an agreement should not be minimized. This is not just about trying to get more money to buy another hot tub. It's about crafting a fair agreement. There's been multiple mentions to the time of this starting late. And what we're going to be voting on is if we should add more time. I don't think it's unreasonable to say let's add a couple of more weeks or a couple of more months, especially when this had started later than it usually does. Page has stated that they are ready to come to an agreement and that they believe that they can reach an agreement. The city negotiator stated that perhaps if they had more time, they could have came to an agreement, but they do believe that there's a little bit more of a further distance. So it sounds like to me that there is a pathway to come up with an agreement that both sides can agree on. We're not dictating what that agreement is, but we're voting to put this back to a negotiation. Now, there might be some comments about what the percentage would be if for each percentage increase and how much that would add to the city budget. But that argument could be used to say that we should increase from 0 to 1%, or 1 to 2%, or 2 to 3%, or the 3 to 4 to 4 to 5. But again, we're not negotiating what that percentage should be. This is just sending it back to the folks to negotiate. Another comment that I've heard has been that this is withholding pay and that we need to increase the salaries now as opposed to continuing the negotiations. But I think the workers have spoken. The workers have said through their elected representation that they want to see this to continue with negotiation and that they're willing to see this through the process. The ask for this is more time, and I hope that through more time and through more conversations in good faith that we can reach an agreement. We're not dictating the results. We're just saying that we would like to have more time in coming to some sort of resolution on this.
Anyone else? Councilwoman.
I'll be brief. As Councilman Shob said, there are moments where the worry and consternation keep you up at night, and this is one of those issues. And this is a hard decision to make, and I will tell you that I spent the weekend doing a lot of reading of contracts, and I look at the situation we're in right now, and I know this is an unusual situation, Councilman Bowers. I also want to make certain that we're not going to be stepping outside legal bounds in any way, in any party. And so opening it up for more time is always good to have when you're in negotiations. But I want to make certain that they can negotiate without being regressive and in that process, so that we wind up in a good place that we all have reached consensus. The job that everyone has when they're at the negotiation table is a difficult job enough without 7 more people putting their fingers into it. I have no interest in being a negotiator and sitting at the table and knocking this out. I do hope that everyone finds the ability to work through the differences, regardless of how much time is allocated in this contract or in the next negotiated process.
Anyone else?
Go ahead, James. Okay. I also have struggled with this. I think this is a very difficult issue, and for me, it comes down to the data that we have in front of us, and I don't feel I have the adequate data to make a good decision on this. Having said that, I plan to vote for this. I think it makes sense to give a raise to folks. I think it makes sense, and my sense is that once we do study the compensation data, that there will be a lot of changes. I think that graph will change significantly. Having said that, I think we have to have that data to make a good move forward. Even having said that, I plan to vote yes on this, and I think that's the right decision.
Anyone else?
Since we're in the discussion phase, I think that there's a lot of very smart council members up here, and so, but I want to respond to the, we're not negotiators, and I agree, like, we're not negotiators, but accepting this contract essentially does make us part of that negotiation. I think voting to not accept the contract is what lets Paige and the city to continue to negotiate, whereas if we accept it, we're essentially saying, okay, we're done negotiating, we're going to take that place and we're going to accept this, as opposed to, if we don't want to be negotiators, then we should let the negotiators do their job and work that out between the workers and the city.
Are you finished? Any other comments? Okay. Very good. I'll just finish by saying there's no guarantee that sending the contract back for continued active bargaining will reach any other resolution. As a part of this process, the parties may take the contract to the Commission of Industrial Relations, which I always think is a a prudent step to get a third party involved in that process, and a step that certainly I think is welcomed as a part of this process. And I am confident that the city will perform on its promise to further investigate pay positions and ranges by February, so that when talks for next year's contract begin in February of 2024, that, and I hope that they do begin, and I ask that they begin in February of 2024, that when those discussions commence at that point in time, that data will be there, and we will see what becomes of the pay ranges that we have before us now. Sony, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
No.
Bowers,
No.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
No.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 4-3. That concludes our section 6, ordinances, third reading and related resolutions. Items, or section 7 is resolutions. First readings are items 7A through 7C. Section 8 is ordinances, first reading and related resolutions are items 8A through 8D. Section 9 is our pending list, item 9A.
Entertain a motion.
I move adjournment.
Second.
Moved Washington, seconded Carlson. Please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
We are adjourned.